What if I told you love doesn't die? Your brain just gets sober. What if the same chemistry that made her fall for you is the exact thing that makes her drift away? No one wants to hear this, but the truth is brutal. Every great love story is built on a chemical high that always fades. And when that high disappears, people start confusing peace for boredom and chaos for passion. That's when good women? Yes, the loyal ones, the mothers, the ones who swore they'd never suddenly start feeling restless, empty, unseen. She doesn't plan to cheat. She just misses the version of herself that used to feel alive. And one small spark, a glance, a message, a laugh that hits too deep ignites everything biology was waiting for. We blame morality. We call it betrayal. But underneath, it's chemistry waging war with commitment. No one teaches us this part of love, the part where the butterflies die. And your brain starts whispering that something's missing. It's not missing. It's just changing. This isn't about villains or victims. It's about understanding what really hijacks desire before it destroys everything real. Stay until the end, because once you see what's actually happening inside her mind, you'll never look at love the same way again. Falling in love feels like magic, but it isn't. It's chemistry. It's electricity disguised as destiny. When you first meet someone who lights you up, your brain floods your body with dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin, nature's cocktail of chaos. Every glance, every text, every touch feels like a spark you've never known before. You think it's fate, but it's a rush. You're not bonding with a person. You're bonding with your own chemical high. That's why everything in the beginning feels effortless. Time stretches. Music sounds better. The smallest things, a late-night talk, a random smile suddenly carry weight that feels cosmic. She looks at him like he's the answer to a question she didn't know she was asking. He swears he's never felt this way before. They both believe they've found the one. But what they're really feeling is their brains on fire. It's biology tricking them into believing that love is supposed to feel like flying. But here's the part nobody tells you. Every high has a half-life. The brain isn't built to stay in constant euphoria. It would burn itself out. So eventually, the same chemistry that made everything feel perfect begins to fade. The thrill doesn't vanish overnight. It just gets quieter. The jokes don't hit the same. The silence between two people starts to stretch longer. What used to feel like warmth now feels like distance. And when that happens, people start to panic. She thinks, maybe something's wrong. He thinks, maybe we lost it. But what they're really losing is dopamine, the chemical of pursuit, of novelty, of hunger. In its place, the brain tries to introduce something deeper, oxytocin, the bonding hormone, the calm after the storm. But calm feels boring when you've been living inside lightning. That's when people start mistaking peace for absence, stability for dullness, routine for death. It's a cruel illusion. This shift, because love isn't dying, it's maturing. But in our culture, nobody tells you how to survive that transition. Every movie, every song, every love story we grow up on teaches us to chase the feeling, not the reality. We're taught that true love means butterflies forever. So when those butterflies fade, we assume the love is gone, when in truth, it's only just begun. This illusion traps millions. It whispers that real love should always feel like the first night, the first kiss, the first rush. It convinces people to chase that initial high over and over again, never realizing that what they're chasing isn't love, it's chemistry. And the cruelest part, the more you chase that high, the harder it becomes to feel it again. The brain adapts, the tolerance builds. What used to make you tremble now barely moves you. That's when the cracks begin to show. She starts missing the version of herself who once felt alive. She remembers what it was like to be desired, to be new, and that memory becomes dangerous. Because somewhere out there, a stranger smiles at her the way her husband used to, and suddenly her brain recognizes the signal. The old circuit lights up again. Not because this new person is special, but because her biology still remembers the rush. We call it chemistry for a reason. It's predictable, measurable, repeatable. Falling in love isn't magic, it's memory. The body remembering what it feels like to be high and mistaking that for happiness. But real love, the kind that lasts, doesn't live in that high. It begins the moment the rush fades. It's in the quiet mornings, the ordinary days, the small, unglamorous acts that keep two people tethered even when the spark feels dim. Falling in love is easy. Staying in love is science. And the illusion we keep falling for is thinking they're the same thing. No one ever warns you about the silence that follows the storm. When the fire cools, when the butterflies disappear, when the thrill turns into routine, you start wondering if something's wrong. But nothing's wrong. This is just the part of love that biology never prepared you for. In the beginning, dopamine drives everything. It's the hormone of pursuit, of excitement, of what's next. Every new experience, every first touch, every unexpected gesture hits like lightning. You can't stop thinking about them. You can't eat, you can't sleep, you can't focus. That's not love, it's intoxication. But eventually, dopamine settles. It always does. The body can't stay high forever. What replaces it is oxytocin, the hormone of stability, safety, bonding. And that's when the shift begins. The dopamine phase feels like flight. The oxytocin phase feels like landing. But when you've spent months soaring through the clouds, even solid ground feels like a crash. The texts slow down. The kisses feel familiar. The conversations that once stretched till dawn now end with, "I'm tired. Let's sleep." The same person who once felt like oxygen now feels ordinary. And that's terrifying. She starts to wonder, why don't I feel that spark anymore? He starts to ask, is she pulling away? But neither of them understands the truth that love has simply entered its second season. It's not dying, it's evolving. The thrill of newness has faded, but what's replacing it? Trust, peace. Security doesn't trigger dopamine, it triggers calm. Yet calm, in a world addicted to stimulation, feels like loss. This is where most relationships start to fracture. One partner still chases the high, the other craves the calm. The imbalance breeds confusion. She used to get butterflies when his name popped up on her phone. Now she gets comfort. But comfort isn't sexy, and comfort doesn't post well on Instagram, so she starts scrolling. Watching highlight reels of other people's lives, perfect vacations, surprise proposals, endless affection, and somewhere deep inside, comparison plants its seed. Why doesn't mine feel like that anymore? The lie spreads fast. She starts believing that real love is supposed to feel like a movie. But movies only show the dopamine phase. Nobody films the quiet years, the school pickups, the late bills, the exhaustion that follows real commitment. And yet, it's in that quiet where real love lives. But when the chemicals dip, your brain doesn't want quiet, it wants chaos. It starts scanning for novelty again. That's why small things begin to irritate her. The way he chews, the way he snores. The same quirks that once made him human now make him unbearable. The filter of dopamine is gone, and without it, reality feels raw, imperfect, too real. The danger is subtle but powerful. She doesn't wake up one day and decide to look elsewhere. It happens in tiny micro moments. A coworker laughs at her joke. A stranger compliments her dress. Someone remembers her favorite coffee order. Each moment is small, harmless until it isn't, because every one of those moments triggers a flicker of dopamine, and that flicker feels like coming back to life. The brain doesn't distinguish between emotional and physical highs, it just records the chemical spike. So when she feels that rush again, even in the smallest form, it's intoxicating. Her brain whispers, "There it is. You're alive again." She doesn't realize she's mistaking novelty for love, attention for connection, and curiosity for destiny. What makes this phase so dangerous is that it feels innocent. She's not cheating. She's just talking. She's just enjoying the attention. She tells herself it's nothing, but the truth is, it's everything. Because her brain has already started building a new pathway, a new association between this other person and the feeling of being alive. Meanwhile, her partner feels the distance growing but can't explain it. He tries harder, gives more, plans surprises, but nothing lands the same. That's because he's trying to fight chemistry with logic. You can't out-reason a neurochemical imbalance. You can only understand it. And this is the breaking point for many relationships. The woman doesn't see her fading desire as biology. She sees it as proof something's wrong. She confuses the absence of excitement with the absence of love. She forgets that the same calm she now calls boring was once the peace she prayed for. It's not her fault. Nobody taught her what comes after dopamine. Nobody told her that the high always ends. That oxytocin, the quiet, steady kind of love, doesn't make your heart race. It makes your soul rest. But because we live in a culture that worships excitement and despises stillness, she thinks something's missing. So she starts to seek what she's lost instead of nurturing what she's found. And that's when she's most vulnerable, not to temptation, but to the illusion that there's something more out there. This shift from dopamine to drought is the invisible turning point of most love stories. It's the moment where people either deepen their roots or start searching for new soil. And the ones who survive it aren't the lucky ones. They're the ones who understand the storm was never the point. It was just the spark before the real work of love began. Cheating doesn't begin in a hotel room. It begins in a heartbeat. One glance, one laugh, one message that lands a little too soft. Nobody wakes up one morning and decides to destroy their life. It happens in fragments, in small, almost invisible choices that feel harmless in the moment. But each one moves a person 1 inch closer to the edge. It usually starts when she notices someone new. Maybe it's a man at work who pays attention when her husband doesn't. Maybe it's a stranger at the gym who smiles just long enough to make her feel seen. That first glance sparks a flicker of dopamine so small she doesn't even register it. But her brain does. It takes note of the pattern. And like any addict, it begins to crave the next hit. Soon, it becomes more than noticing. It becomes awareness. She starts to care about what she wears on the days she might see him. She laughs louder when he's around. She checks her phone just in case he liked something on social media. Nothing wrong yet, just attention, just curiosity. But her brain is building the link him, feeling alive again. Then comes the phase she calls harmless connection, the little chats that linger, the inside jokes, the subtle compliments. She tells herself it's nothing because there's no touch, no kiss, no crossing of lines. But that's the trap. The emotional affair always begins long before the physical one. Every conversation is another wire in the circuit. Every private thought is another step into the fantasy. And the more she indulges it, the more her brain releases dopamine not for her partner, but for the person who represents escape. Before long, the contrast becomes unbearable. Her husband's words sound dull next to the new guy's attention. The home that once felt warm now feels suffocating. The relationship that once grounded her now feels like a cage. But this isn't clarity. It's withdrawal. She's comparing the calm of oxytocin to the chaos of dopamine and calling it truth. At this stage, justification creeps in. We're just friends. He understands me. I deserve to feel happy. The human mind is a master storyteller, and the most dangerous stories are the ones we tell ourselves. She starts rewriting the past, convincing herself she's settled, that she and her husband grew apart, that maybe they were never truly right for each other. But this revisionism isn't wisdom. It's biology looking for permission. Technology makes the descent even faster. What used to take months now takes days. Messages become a lifeline. DMs replace eye contact. The phone becomes the secret world where she can be whoever she wants, free, flirty, desired again. Every notification is another jolt of dopamine. It's not the man she's addicted to. It's the feeling he gives her every time the screen lights up. And yet, on the surface, nothing looks wrong. She's still coming home. She's still saying, "I love you." She still kisses the kids goodnight. But emotionally, she's already gone. She split herself into two lives, the one everyone sees, and the one she keeps in her mind. The emotional intimacy that used to belong to her husband now belongs to someone else. And when that emotional line finally blurs into a physical one, it doesn't feel like betrayal. It feels like relief, like gravity pulling her toward what she believes is real. But it's not real. It's the same chemical high she once felt with her partner, recycled through a different face. It's the same dopamine loop, the same illusion, the same trap dressed in a new thrill. Once the novelty fades, the rush fades too, and she'll find herself standing in the same silence she once ran from, except this time, there's more wreckage in the room. This slippery slope isn't about evil. It's about blindness, about people mistaking excitement for meaning, attention for connection, chemistry for destiny. We tell ourselves we can control it, that we can play near the edge without falling, but nobody stands that close to a cliff forever. Eventually, you slip. And that's why understanding the slope matters, because awareness is the only thing that can stop the fall before it begins. The goal isn't to shame anyone. It's to recognize how the brain tricks us into believing we're chasing love, when we're really just chasing a feeling. Because once you see how easy it is to fall, you start to understand how powerful it is to stay. We were never taught that love has two lives, the high and the home. The high is dopamine, unpredictable, thrilling, electric. The home is oxytocin, steady, grounded, calm. One makes your heart race, the other slows it down. One feels like falling, the other feels like staying. And yet, most people keep chasing the first one, thinking that the second means something's gone wrong. Dopamine is the spark that starts the fire, but it was never meant to keep it burning. It's nature's way of getting you to bond. Once it does its job, oxytocin takes over, the chemical of safety, connection, trust. The problem is, our culture worships the spark and despises the slow burn. We live in a dopamine world, swiping, scrolling, chasing highs. We've trained our brains to crave the rush, not the roots. So when love starts feeling safe, we mistake that safety for stagnation. That's why so many people walk away from good relationships. They don't understand that in love and love are not the same thing. The first is a storm, the second is shelter. But the storm is addictive. And when the storm calms, the silence feels unbearable. That's when people start to wonder, is this all there is? They don't realize that the quiet they're running from is the beginning of real intimacy. Our movies, our music, even our social media feeds have lied to us. They sell dopamine disguised as devotion. Every song screams about passion. Every movie ends at the first kiss. Every post shows couples frozen in their highlight moments. Nobody shows the mornings when love is silent, the bills, the kids, the exhaustion, the small, invisible acts that make love real. And because we never see that version, we start thinking something's wrong with ours. But the truth is, butterflies are not proof of love. They're proof of anxiety. They're your body reacting to uncertainty, not destiny. That flutter in your stomach that feels so intoxicating, it's your nervous system on alert, not your soul finding its mate. We've just been taught to call chaos romantic. Real love is quieter. It's not a surge, it's a steady hum. It's two people who choose each other long after the thrill has worn off. It's forgiveness instead of fireworks. It's staying when leaving would be easier. And it's boring sometimes, and that's okay. Because boring is safe. Safe is stable. And stable is what allows love to grow. If dopamine is a drug, oxytocin is the cure. It teaches your brain to slow down, to stop chasing the next hit, to start building something deeper. The rush will always fade. That's biology. But what replaces it? The calm, the comfort. The knowing is where real love begins. It's where you stop performing and start belonging. Yet most people never make it there. They chase the next spark, thinking they can cheat the system. New face, new thrill, new high. But it always ends the same excitement, attachment, boredom, repeat. A cycle that burns through people like fuel until there's nothing left but regret. The truth is, if you don't learn how to transition from dopamine to oxytocin, every relationship will feel like déjà vu. Different name, same ending. You want to know who survives the shift. The ones who understand that the loss of the high isn't a sign of failure, it's an invitation. An invitation to build something that doesn't depend on chemical chaos to feel alive. The ones who make it stop asking, where did the spark go, and start asking, how can we grow from here? Because the spark isn't supposed to last. It's supposed to light the path. And if you spend your life chasing that first blaze, you'll never feel the warmth of the fire it was meant to start. What happens when people stop running and finally understand that love isn't something you fall into, it's something you learn to keep? There comes a moment, usually after the damage is done, when the truth finally hits. The affair didn't fix anything. The high didn't last. The chemistry faded, and reality came back heavier than before. The woman who once felt reborn now feels hollow, guilty, split in two. She traded peace for adrenaline and found herself addicted to the very chaos she thought was freedom. And in that quiet wreckage, when there's no one left to impress, she finally realizes she wasn't chasing love. She was running from herself. Cheating isn't just a betrayal of another person. It's a rebellion against the version of you that promised to stay grounded when the high disappeared. When people cheat, they think they're escaping boredom. But what they're really escaping is self-awareness. It's easier to light a new fire than to tend to the old one. Easier to start over than to sit in silence and ask, why do I need to feel this alive to believe I'm loved? But here's the truth that offers redemption. Understanding what happened doesn't excuse it, but it can transform it. Awareness is the only way out of the loop, because you can't outlove biology, you can only learn to work with it. When you start recognizing the signs, you take the power back. The random flirty message that once felt thrilling now becomes a warning light. The old fantasy that used to whisper, "You deserve more," now reveals itself for what it is, a trap disguised as validation. Awareness rewires the cycle. It replaces impulse with intention. It doesn't make you immune to temptation, but it makes you conscious enough to see it for what it is, temporary chemicals begging for attention. And when you understand that, you stop reacting. You start choosing. Choosing connection over chaos, peace over excitement, depth over dopamine. Real redemption doesn't happen in confession. It happens in correction. It happens the moment you stop feeding the illusion that love must always feel new to be real. It happens when you sit across from your partner, years in, and realize that the quiet between you isn't emptiness, it's history. It's the sound of everything you've survived together. If dopamine is the storm, oxytocin is the soil. You can't build anything in the storm. You plant roots in the soil. You build safety there. You grow there. And yes, sometimes it's slow. Sometimes it's silent. But that's the point. Because the love that lasts doesn't scream, it stays. To the women who've crossed the line, and the men still trying to understand why this isn't about blame. It's about learning to see love through the right lens. It's about realizing that excitement isn't evidence of connection, and calm isn't proof that something's gone wrong. It's about forgiving yourself for the lies you believed, and forgiving your partner for the ones they didn't know how to see. The human brain will always crave intensity, but the human heart was built for endurance. The world teaches us to chase the feeling of falling. Wisdom teaches us to fight for the peace of staying. So maybe the real victory in love isn't keeping the butterflies alive. It's learning to love without needing them. Because love doesn't die when the rush fades. It begins there. Stay until the end. Because the last thing I want to leave you with isn't fear or regret. It's hope. Hope that understanding how we break is the first step to learning how to stay whole. Hope that even after the dopamine fades, the heart can relearn the rhythm of real love. And if you've ever felt like your relationship lost its spark, remember this: the spark was never meant to last. The warmth was. If you've made it this far, you're probably one of two people. Someone trying to understand why love feels different now, or someone fighting to keep it alive. Either way, this wasn't just another talk about relationships. This was your roadmap back to connection. You've seen the truth. Love doesn't die. When the spark fades, it begins there. Now here's what to do with that. Tonight, instead of scrolling, talk. Ask your partner one question you haven't asked in years. Tell them one thing you still admire. Touch them without needing a reason. Those small moments feed oxytocin, the calm love we all crave but forget to nurture. And if you're single, use this truth as armor. Stop chasing the high. Start choosing the kind of love that can hold you steady when life gets loud. If this opens something in you, don't let it fade. Comment below what truth hit you hardest. Which part of love do you want to rebuild? Thank you for staying till the end. It means you're not just here to feel something, you're here to grow through it. Follow for more lessons on love, psychology, and the human heart. Because here, we don't chase the rush. We teach you how to make love last.